Summary of the Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan. Friedan starts her study of the lives of white middle-class women in suburban America after World War II by looking into the problem that has no name. Friedan first noticed the problem when she went back to her old school, Smith College, and asked some of her fellow graduates about how unhappy they were with their lives after graduation. She chose to expand her study and found that women all over the country had similar feelings of boredom and unhappiness, even though people thought that suburban women had perfect, comfortable lives. Most women dealt with the problem in silence. Some people thought something was wrong with them because they weren't happy with their lives. Friedan points out that the media are part of the problem by spreading the feminine mystique and putting major emotional problems on small, everyday things like incompetent repairmen. Worse, marketers and women's magazines pushed the happy housewife as a model of femininity. Many white suburban women tried to be like this woman. The happy housewife was an enthusiastic shopper who spent her days in department stores and shops buying the newest tools and cleaning supplies. Through her interviews with researchers and manipulators, advertising consultants who used housewives' feelings of inadequacy and boredom to sell them products, Friedan found out how ad firms tried to keep the feminine mystique alive so that housewives, who were the most important American consumers, would continue to buy household goods. Even though tools were made to make chores easier and take less time, homemakers still spent more time on housework. Social tests and studies showed that women spent too much time on housework to fill their time and make them feel like they had accomplished something. Friedan thought that by making cleaning a job and calling themselves housewives, women were making things that a child could do into their life's purpose, which was bad for them. Women didn't always see themselves as homemakers. In fact, they have been important parts of American life for a long time. Many of the mothers and grandmothers of housewives during the Eisenhower administration were suffragists who fought for the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. But history had hurt the early feminists' reputations, so their daughters and granddaughters moved away from the idea that they were independent, smart, and politically engaged. Lucy Stone and other early feminists learned about women's problems while working to end slavery. For their activity and rejection of traditional ways of being a woman, they were called man-hating. In the years after World War II, Sigmund Freud's ideas in psychoanalysis were very famous. This made people think that smart, active women were perverted or had penis envy. Social experts also added to the mystery of women. Friedan focuses on the work of scholar Margaret Mead. Mead's ideas about gender were based on functionalism, which is the idea that traditional gender roles are needed to make sure that men and women serve equal roles in society, just like each part of the body serves a function. Teachers, professors, and college officials who focused on sexuality also added to the feminine aura. Instead of telling young women to learn how to think critically and do serious academic work, teachers put them in home economics and marriage and family classes so they wouldn't feel out of place as housewives. A majority of female college graduates who were asked said they were very happy with their liberal arts educations, but they regretted that they had not done anything with what they had learned. This goes against the idea that education makes women unfit for chores. They bought things so they could feel like they were part of the world. If that didn't work, they turned to sexual activity to feel alive. A lot of married women said they had affairs. Their husbands also had affairs, both casual hookups and more serious relationships, sometimes with women who worked in their offices. This was a way for them to get away from their home lives. The image of the devouring wife was just as sexist as that of the devouring mother. It led men to have affairs with or dreams about girly women like Lolita, who helped them forget about their wives' aggressive demands at home. Friedan's study showed that the feminine mystique did not lead to more happiness in marriage or a better sense of purpose in the role that was based on sex. On the other hand, women with college degrees and jobs tended to be happier in their relationships and have more orgasms. Instead, the mystique made women give up who they were in order to play a female part. Friedan says that this lack of identity for everyone is like living in a prison camp. Friedan knows that the comparison is a bit far-fetched, but she thinks that women and camp prisoners both lose their sense of who they are. Friedan says that women must work in order to regain their sense of self. This doesn't mean that women should just work to support their families, because that would be another way to stay in the trap. Instead, they should look for work that makes them happy. She also says that paid work is best because it shows women that they are worth something. Friedan suggests other ways for women to find their identities, including the fact that they have to stop being housewives. She says that women should see cleaning for what it is, a bunch of tasks that need to be done as quickly and easily as possible. She also wants colleges to offer courses for women who haven't been in school for a long time, as well as maternity leave and childcare programs that would let women keep working while taking care of their children. In the last part of the book, called The Coda, Friedan talks about how the book changed her own life. She had planned to get a PhD by going back to school. When the other wives and mothers in her Rockland County, New York, neighborhood found out that she was becoming a writer, she felt alone and suspicious. In 1969, she left her husband because she was sick of telling other women to be strong but not doing it herself. She helped start the National Organization for Women, NOW, the following year and was its first president. She also helped start the National Association for the Repeal of Abortion Laws, NARAL, and fought for the Equal Rights Amendment, ERA, among other political causes. As she thought about how she could get over her fear of flying, she understood that when a person finds their life's meaning, they no longer fear death. Because women were treated badly, a lot of their energy was locked up in outdated gender roles. This made it hard for women to find their real purposes. Friedan thought that the sexual revolution of the late 1960s and early 1970s was a chance for men and women to be free.
About the author. Betty Friedan was the oldest of 3 children born to Russian Jewish immigrant jeweler Harry Goldstein and his Hungarian Jewish wife Miriam Goldstein, who worked as a journalist before Friedan was born. Friedan went to Smith College and majored in psychology. She got her degree with honors in 1942. Before she moved to New York City in 1943, she got a fellowship to study psychology at the University of California at Berkeley for a year. She had a number of weird jobs while she was there until she met Carl Friedan, who wanted to be a theater director and ad executive. In 1947, they got married. The couple had 3 children and moved to Rockland County, New York, where Friedan worked as a housewife and independent writer. In the 1950s, she did a poll of her fellow Smith graduates and found that many of them were unhappy as women. This was the start of her work on the feminine mystique. When the book came out, it marked the beginning of the second-wave feminist movement. Friedan used her power to work toward the political goals she had set for herself when she was young. She was the first head of the National Organization of Women, NOW, which she helped start in 1963. She also helped start the National Association for the Repeal of Abortion Laws, which became the National Abortion Rights Action League, NARAL, after the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade ruling in 1973. In 1971, she started the National Women's Political Caucus with Congresswomen Shirley Chisholm, Bella Abzug, and activist Gloria Steinem. Friedan also worked for the Equal Rights Amendment to be passed. She kept writing and working for women's rights until 2006, when she died of heart failure.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.